What's going on YouTube? Welcome to Wes's Angling. Today we're at Stoat Hall Fishery. This is going to be the first video in a new series of fishery reviews. Most of the reviews will be around the Lancashire area, but today, like I said, we're at Stoat Hall. We've just decided on what lake to fish. I think we'll be fishing the normal match lake, which is a mixed coarse water. I believe that this lake behind me they've just actually dug, and it's a specimen lake, so it would be nice to fish that, but I don't think we're going to be fishing it today. We're not really got the right tackle with us to fish a specimen lake. I'm not sure what the fish go to in there. Like I said, it is a new lake, but it would be nice to try it, so I might do another video on that at another time, because it does look nice. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit nasally today. I've not been too well, so if I sound a bit rough, that's why. But I'll show you the lake that we'll be fishing this morning. As usual, I'm here with my dad. I'm going to be fishing one method feeder, I think. We've fished here a few times before, and we've always done quite well. There's plenty of activity on the lake this morning. Good thing about Stoat Hall, or Stoat Hall should I say, is you can park right next to your peg. So you can drive all the way around the lake and park next to your peg. So it's got good disabled access if you need it. £7 for one rod and £10 for two. So it's an extra £3 if you wanted to fish another rod. You've got an aerator just out from the tree here. Always did well next to this tree the few times that I've been. So where the carp hug this tree here on the left, and also over to this island. Well, I call it an island. It's a bit of a patch of weed really, but fish tend to congregate there. I've had some crucians down here in the margin before now. My dad's getting set up, he's fishing method feeder as well. There's loads of bubbles coming up, plenty of fish topping around the aerator. I've decided on fishing two rods, so I'm just going to go and stick another £3 in the honesty box. There you go, £7 per day, one rod, £3 per extra rod, maximum of two rods. Rules are on the inside there, and to be honest with you, he's not taking the price list down from 2021, so. It has put a bit of rain down last night. I don't know whether everybody heard the thunderstorms and stuff like that at about 11:30, 12 o'clock. So hopefully that doesn't put the fishing off, but like I said, there's loads of activity, so I can't see it being too much of a problem. So we're going to get the method feeders out, I'm going to get set up, get my feeder chair up, but park right next to my peg. So we'll see what we catch today. But I'll give you a rating at the end of the fishery review videos. I'm going to be taking into account things like facilities, quality of fishing, how well kept the fishery is, you know, the rules and restrictions, and the general vibe that I get from the place. I'm sorry if the camera's quite dark. It is still early morning. It's currently 7 o'clock. This fishery actually only opens at 7, so there's no point getting here for first light or anything like that. But there's nobody else fishing as of yet. I think people have probably been put off by the weather forecast. So yeah, let's get cracking with the fishing and see what we catch for you. My dad's just got a bank stick set up and he's pushed that in behind his peg there. Just fishing with a small reel and a 12-foot feeder rod. Probably a bit big, that feeder rod for here, isn't it, Dad? You need to get yourself a smaller one. 11'6" Shimano Stardic feeder, probably belongs in a museum. and just a method feeder. How long have you had that rod, Dad?
As old as you.
Probably as old as me, he says. But yeah, one rod out to this aerator, I think, or to the tree, and I've got loads of choices of pegs here. To be fair, I could have one rod here, over to the aerator, over to this little island, or down this little margin here. So great choice, this peg. Okay guys, before I get my feeder chair set up and whatnot, I'm going to mix some ground bait. So there's 2 kilograms of F1 green ground bait here. I'm not going to use all that. I'm just going to pour what I need into my mixing bucket. So that's probably about a quarter of that bag. It smells really fishy, that ground bait, actually. Just put a touch of water in, and then to beef it up a little bit, because obviously we're still in autumn, or we're coming into autumn, the fishing's still going to be fairly heavy, so I'm going to put some particle mix into it. Look at how dark green that ground bait is. So that's probably slightly over wetted, but that's fine because it'll absorb in over the next 10-15 minutes as we're getting set up. Yeah, really sticky ground bait, it feels like. I've not used that stuff before, and it does smell sweet, but also quite fishy as well. So this is my particle mix. I'm not putting loads of this in, but I do want it to have some particles in, so put a couple of handfuls of this in. So that's just got some corn kernels, some maples, some hemp, and that should be fine. I'm just going to stir that through. I'm not going to bother putting it through a riddle because I don't mind that there's going to be big pieces in there. But that's great. So that'll absorb while we're setting the feeder chair up. Sorted. Put my ground bait back in there so it doesn't get eaten by rats, mice. I've already got my rods pre-set up with the method feeders on. I'm just using my Shimano Speedmasters and Daiwa Crossfire 4000 reels, front drag. But yeah, so method feeders are already on there, ready to go. They just need hook links. Nice and easy. Better to get them set up and already pre-made, so as soon as you get on the bank you can get fishing. I've got to make the most of these half-day sessions that I've got. There we go, that's our net set up. Some half-decent carp in here. Biggest carp that we caught, I think, was about £8. But we were catching quite a few carp. Mostly £5 to £8 mark. Some smaller carp in here as well, crucians and F1, stuff like that. Bream, so nice little mixed fishery. As always with these fishery reviews, what I'll do is I'll put the address in the description for you, so you know exactly where we're fishing if you want to try it out yourself. Toilet facilities on site, so you've got a little portable toilet over there. Like I say, I'll try and find out what's in the specimen lake that they've just dug, but they don't really come around for the money or anything here. I've never seen the bailiffs, so I'm not 100% sure I would find out for you. It might be worth doing a little bit of digging on their website or whatever, and I'll see if I can get that info. But I know for a fact the carp will go up 10 plus in here, 10 plus pound. So when you are setting your feeder chairs up, as you all know if you're following the channel, this is a Capolan feeder chair. It's covered in slug slime from the garage, but that is what it is. It's a fishing chair, it don't need to be perfect. When you're setting your feeder chair up, make sure that you're bearing in mind where you're going to be fishing to. So I've got this level onto the water here, because what I want to do is I want to fish one rod to the tree and probably one rod to this right hand side of the island over here. And what I could also do is I can have this right hand rod down this margin as well if I wanted to. So I'm going to have the rod tips facing away from each other, so if I get a bite on this side it's not going to interfere with the rod if I get a bite on this side. Rod rests are on the feeder chair now. These are Preston Innovations rod grips. Not affiliated in any way, they're just really good for holding your rod secure when you're fishing the method feeder. On this Capellan feeder chair it comes with the arm, but what I've done is on the bottom, I don't know if you can see this, I've made another leg just to stabilise the feeder arm so I can screw that out. It's got a big threaded screw that goes all the way up into it, so I've adapted it a little bit and I can just screw that out to however long I need it to be, and that'll just stabilise it against the floor. So rod setup's just as easy as that. I'm just pushing the two parts together, making sure that the rings line up there. And this rod is ready to fish. Just pop the handle out on the reel, tighten it down. 9'11" these rods. 10-foot feeder rods are perfect for commercials. You definitely don't need anything too long. So as you can see, rod tip's gone right under the water there, so we need to lift this feeder arm up a touch. That'll do. You don't want the feeder arm too far up though, you just want your rods just above the water's surface. That way you're going to get your best indication and the best line lay towards the fish. I've just been and put another £3 in the honesty box so I can fish 2 rods. I think it'll give us our best chance today of getting a good few fish for you. If you've preset your rods up like this, just make sure that your feeder's not passed through the end of the rod, because I've had it before where the feeder's actually come up and it's gone through the line at the top there, and you don't want to get snapped because you've not checked it. So our drag's nicely set on that one. Okay, so hook lengths that we're using today. Already pre-tied them last night. I've tied up some size 12 feeder hooks. They're just Corum feeder hooks and I've got them with a bait band. So a size 12, but I'm actually not going to be using the size 12s. I'll probably start off on the size 14s. So I've got one size 14 there. Just banded hook links. You probably can't see this on the GoPro. They're not good when it comes to close up, but just a figure of 8 loop knot in the end, band on the top, and I've not tied the line tight around the band. I've left a bit of a loop just so the bait can move freely. That's really important. And I've just got a tiny little bit of rig tubing just holding that hair in place with the band on. What else have we got? So let's use a couple of those. We'll start off on them. £9 line and £10 main line. So £9 hook link and £10 main line. It's going to be plenty for anything that's in this lake. You know, you could even fish probably £6 hook link, but if you hook anything decent, you know, you want a chance to be able to land it. So don't be scared of fishing heavier. Doesn't put the fish off in any way, shape or form. Right, so like I said, now that we've set up, that's absolutely perfect. Can you see that? And then when we squeeze that together, so that binds nicely. That'll bind nicely around the method feeder and breaks down. It didn't need to go through the riddle. Look at how fine it is. And it's got our particle mix in there as well. Bits of hemp, bits of corn, maples, and it's just going to get the carp grubbing around on the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put a couple of handfuls of this in to start off the swim. So I'm going to be fishing right under this tree here. We're going to have to set our drag fairly high so we can get right on them and stop them from getting in them snags. And I'm actually going to start off down this margin. You can see this weed coming out from the side. So I'm just going to fish just off this next patch of weed here. And again, drag set fairly high, and I'm going to bully him out of there if I need to. Let's put our hook link on. So that just feeds in, goes through the hook there at the top of the method feeder, and then we just press all that back in to secure that in place, and that is good to go. We're just going to get a wafter on there in a second, but we'll get the other hook link on the other one. I like the Sonia Bates wafters. I've got some 6mm washed out and some 8mm washed out as well. I'm going to start with a pink 8mm washed out, which are my favourites. Might try a little bit of corn as well a bit later in the day, but we'll start off on the pink washed out. Got my method feeder mould ready, so put a little bit in the feeder, and then we'll squeeze that in. So I've already chucked a little bit of ground bait in, but look at that, nice looking ground bait that. Let's get this rod, and I'm just going to flick this under this tree. That'll be perfect. Make sure my drag's set fairly high so I can get them out of there if I need be, and let some line out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this feeder arm around a touch more as well, just to give us a bit more space back here. If you're not confident on fishing 2 method feeders, only fish 1. It is a bit of a faff. Turn the drag up. Let's put a smaller wafter on this other. So we'll go with a 6mm. And we'll try for a crucian down this margin. That's a 6mm on. Could always try one of these maples as well on the band, but they'd be good. Caught on them before. Right, so that's that second one loaded up, and I'm just going to drop that in the margins down here. We'll try for a crucian. And you can see there that neither of these rods are going to interfere with each other. A little bit of a tweak then on this left hand rod over to the tree. Myself a brew, I'm half asleep. It's definitely into bream. Oh, he's going for that tree. Let's get him away from that. So there was no indications there, it just ripped off. It's decent carp this actually. Make sure my drag's right. Coming straight in. Fought really hard the last time I was here. Spiked myself on that thorn bush. Yes! Look at that, straight in as well. Okay. Oh. Let's have a look at it. Perfectly hooked, right in the bottom of the mouth there. Really nice specimen of a fish. Definitely not far off £8 that. What do we think? Really deep bodied, thick. I'd say that I'd go 7.5, £8. Yeah, it's heavy. Look at that. What a lovely fish. I don't think it's hammered Stoat's haul, so all the fish are always in lovely condition. Look at that. Let's put it back. Yeah. I've been slated a little bit in some of my other videos for fishing double method feeders like this, but as you can see, the rods don't interfere with each other. A little bit of a pain when you're trying to net, but it's only the same as fishing 2, you know, rods on bite alarms. You're still going to have the same issues if one of the fish runs across the other line. It's still the same. just a different method of indication. I do like fishing with the method feeders on the quiver tips. A little bit more interactive than bite alarms, you know, and you can see all the finer little takes and things like that. You know, if there's smaller fish in the swim, that you can always switch it up and use a smaller hook bait. So if you're getting loads of little taps and tweaks of fish feeding on the feeder but nothing's taking the bait, you know that you've got smaller fish in your swim, and you can scale down the hook link or the hook baits, even the hook size if that's what you wanted to do. So I recommend having a variety of, you know, hook sizes tied up, you know, from 16s all the way up to, you know, a size 12 decent size feeder hook. Caught from that tree before, I was getting fish after fish after fish last time from this tree, but fishing the opposite side, casting to the other edge of the tree. Just a few tips if you fancied fishing here. That island's productive as well, so I'll probably fish the other side of that island next as well. Might even try the aerator, like I said. Loads of bubbles coming up around there. I should really be fishing to that. So I think next cast, that's what I'm going to do. They look like bream bubbles, they don't look like carp blowing or anything. But we're here for everything today, we're not just here for the carp. It'll just be a little underarm cast to it. Must admit, I'm not a fan of this ground bait. It's not sticking to the feeder very well. That'll do. Half a ground bait come off, but don't matter. We'll just tighten up to that. Let's underarm some more ground baiting. So we've got 3 swims baited up there. We've got down the margin, we've got under the tree, and we've got the aerator. Getting tweaked straight away there. The other thing I'm a little bit concerned about, guys, is usually when these kind of fisheries build a special lake, like he's done over the other side there, they tend to take some of the bigger fish out of the main pool, which is this one, this is the match lake, and put it in, you know, to stock it up. So there's a chance that some of the decent fish that were in here have been taken out to go in the specimen lake. I just didn't quite have the right setup to fish the specimen lake today, which is a little bit disappointing because I would have liked to. I didn't know it was ready and good to go. It's been about 2.5 years since I fished here, and they were just starting to dig it then. But the next time we come, I'll try and get over here. I might even try and get here next week, and we'll fish it. We'll have method feeders on the bite alarms, slightly stronger hook links, and we'll fish that. There's fish cruising about. Plenty of bubbles coming up from the other side. Oh, bit of a tweak there. Yep, here we go. I'm not sure what that was. Should have left it a little bit longer. Don't do what I just did then. You should wait till it goes all the way around before you lift into it with a method feeder. You'll know when you've got a fish on, even if it's smaller. But I think that was a line bite. Again, I've just had a bit of a tweak on that left hand rod over to the aerator. Seems like bream feeding to me. Usually with carp you don't get any kind of indications, the rod tip just goes round. But there's something feeding on that now. It'll go around in a minute, but I'm pretty damn sure it'll be a bream. That was a tweak, it's not hooked itself. Might even been a liner. There was a big bow wave that just went. Let's leave that in situ for a minute and then I'll rebait. A little bit of a twitch on this right hand rod. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there's bream in the swim. So I might swap over to a smaller wafter. and we'll see what they are. And give it another couple of minutes. Because one of the bigger bream will definitely be able to take an 8mm wafter, no problem. But if they're smaller skimmers, then they might struggle. Like I said, there are crucians in here as well, which can give a little finicky, tentative bite as well. So it could be those. But the crucians tend to be in the margins, in the reeds, lily pads, that kind of thing. I'm just swapping the aerator rod to a 6mm wafter, and we'll just see. We'll just see if there's some bream there. I don't like this ground bait, guys. It's just not binding properly to the feeder. I'm having to manually squeeze it on. There's nothing wrong with the consistency and the wetness. It's perfect. Look at that blowing that's coming up around where I last cast. Perfect. I bet that'll go off pretty quick. I'm just picking some of these bigger particles out. We'll just keep feeding up, chucking a few under this tree here, and we'll have a carp from there at some point today. Almost certain. Look at all these. Can you see just off that aerator there? You probably can't on the GoPro, but just off that aerator there, there's so many bubbles coming up. Just up from where I'm fishing that, so I'm going to leave it in. So while we're waiting for a bite, it looks as though the owner's done quite a bit of work since the last time that we've been here. Sorry, it just had a bit of a twitch on that left-hand rod then. He's gravelled all the paths, which is good because it was a bit of a muddy sludge pit the last time we came. And even here where you drive up and park behind your peg, he's gravelled, which makes a massive difference. Obviously your car's not getting covered in crap. I've just missed a bream bite. There was definitely a fish on, and it's unhooked itself before I could get to the rod. There's definitely carp moving about. I can hear them sucking on the surface as well, and splashing in the margins. So the carp might be closer in. But like I said, I keep feeding up under this tree, and we'll try back down there every now and again and see if any carp have moved in. So it's been about 10-15 minutes now. I'm going to reel in and I'm going to cast back out with a full method feeder. Keep them interested. They're definitely feeding on the feeder because I can see the tip twitching. Twip titching, I nearly said then. I've just wetted this down a bit more. Hopefully it just sticks a little bit better. I won't press it in as hard. Yeah, no, it's just glooping around in the feeder. It's awful. Won't be buying that ground bait again. It was on offer, which probably why. Now Good's ever on offer, is it? Hopefully this doesn't come off on the cast because my hand squaws it around the feeder. Perfect. Nice little underarm. That's the best bet about these smaller rods. Very accurate. Yeah, I don't know whether it's the ground bait or whether it's because I put some of that particle mix in and the oils from the particle mix are just stopping it binding properly. It could be that. I'll give it a little bit of time over to the aerator again. And then next cast we'll go down here. My dad's not had anything yet. He's fishing to the island on the right hand side. Play a little bit dangerous. I've got this left hand rod down the tree, but my right hand rod I've had absolutely nothing or no indications down the margin. So I'm going to put this rod over to the aerator where we had that last fish. There's just a chance that obviously when a fish gets in close, if I did hook one, that I'm going to have to net it over my other line, or I'm going to have to try and get it around this way and net it on this side. But there's weeds down here, so it might be a bit tricky, but we're going to do it because I think that's the best chance of getting another fish. Keep the small wafter on this, that's got 6mm on. Need to keep a close eye on this left hand rod because I need to be on that as soon as it goes around if there's a carp under that tree. Otherwise I'll not land it, it's just going to get snagged up. Let's move this tip over a bit. If we can, a bit more. Tighten up again. That's perfect. See, straight away you're getting indications on that right hand rod that I've just put over near the aerator. We're in, boys. Told you there was a little bream over there near that aerator. Let's get it over this other line. I'll put that down there out of the way. Nice little skimmer. Hooked perfectly as well. I knew that these were the fish that were messing around with the bait. Look at that. Lovely colours on it. It's going to be a nice bronze bream that when it gets a bit bigger. Look at this. Wants my ground bait. Oh, some camera. What is it, Dad? A little carp? Is it an F1 or a common? Common. I've not done anything under that tree like I expected. But that's fishing, it really goes how you expect. So much activity near that aerator though. Me and my dad have just been discussing where he was fishing on this side. Absolutely jam-packed with this green algae, and I don't know whether it, you know, puts the fish off or whatever, but it's a bit clearer on this side and there's a bit more activity, there's more bubbles and whatnot. To get underneath my brolly. It's going to make it a bit awkward casting with the brolly above me, but it is going to chuck it down in a second, I think. It's not forecast to, but when's that ever right? So I'm going to have one rod back down that tree and the other over to the aerator. Okay. Really quiet fishing today. Only had a couple of fish. My dad's had one, I've had two. I'm almost certain that there's going to be carp down under this tree. It'll just be a matter of time. I'll put a smaller wafter back on it. This needs lifting up a touch more. This must have dropped a bit. It's better. I knew I'd get one down there eventually. Oh. Let's move this rod out of the way. Knocked everything over then. Thought I might have lost it. Oh, coming. Hooked himself at top at snout. Oh, right in there as well. God. There we go. Look at that nice little common bonny fish. I tell you what, this other side's really thick with this algae. I've just been talking to the other fellas across the way there on the opposite side of the bank, and they're telling me that there's some decent carp in that specimen lake, and also a couple of sturgeon, which really got me excited. One of my favourite fish, sturgeon. The rods are twitching away, but I've not had anything yet. One's under the tree, one's to the aerator. Oh, that's a drop back. Oh, it's come out. Bream. Definitely a bream. That was very typical of a bream bite. A jerky bite and then a drop back. And then obviously when I lifted into it, it was definitely on, and then it's pulled out. So it would have been a small bream. Let's get it back out under that tree. It's just started raining. We'll have another little bit of a recast. Shall we put a little bit of attractant on? Bring out the big guns. Make sure that you're nice and tight to your feeder. It is a nice peaceful setting here at Stoat's Hall. I know the fishing's not been great today, or not as good as it normally is on the channel, but can't expect to have a good session every time. Well guys, that rain is starting to come down now. I'm glad I put my brolly up. My dad's got his brolly up as well. Keep my ground bait out the rain. I'm definitely going to try and get back here next week and fish that specimen lake, especially after finding out that they've got sturgeon in. Literally one of my favourite fish, sturgeon. It's very, very hard to find fisheries that have them in. The reason for that is you actually need a licence to keep them, and the fishery can't be within a certain proximity to a river to stop the sturgeon getting into the UK waterways. So that's the reason they're quite scarce. Right, let's reel these in and have a recast. That's probably why I've not had anything on that one. Right into a branch. So I've just checked that hook, and it was slightly, ever so slightly, the point had turned. So I've just straightened it back out. If it turns again, I'll put another hook link on, but that might have been why we lost that last fish. Probably happened when I hooked that branch. Hey, he's got a fish. Little skimmer. Oh, we're in again. Looks like another little carp. under the tree. It's fighting, this one. There we go. I'll keep an eye on the other rod as well. Glad I shut that flask. It's actually an F1 this, but it's no barbules, and it's got this lateral line down its flank. I'll put it back. I'll put a link to all the gear that I'm using in the description for you. A lot of you ask about my ground bait mixer. So it's a Quorum EVA, and you also get the riddle with it as well, which is down there, and it all packs together. Well, this is something I've not had in a while. I think this is a roach. It's not often that you get a roach on the method feeder, but I'm pretty sure that's a roach. Yeah, roach on the feeder. They tend to feed up in the water, so it's not often that you get them on the method feeder. Another bream from under that tree. This is lime. Ah, there we go. Right in the corner of the mouth. Another bream dead. Big swell down here. Go under that tree, take my bait. I think it did. Yeah, small one. Speeding around everywhere. Just trying to stop it going across my other line. That was on the maple as well. Nice little mirror. Nice scale pattern on it. On the maple kernel. They're a bit harder than corn. And they band quite well as well. Keep going with that, try another one. I might even put one on other rod. It's a little bit of a better bream. I mean, not much better, but a little bit better. Better bream, Dad? Nice shape to it, good condition. There's been a cart blowing here all day. I might just have a quick cast to there. Well, I was right, boys. Oh god, this one's speeding around. Let's try and get this other rod out of the water. So just where that big patch of bubbles come up, and I've just showed you that I cast to, this shot straight off. It shot off that fast that it's actually pulled the method feeder off. Common. So tail rubbers come off and the feeders just slipped off on, because obviously when the fish is bolted, must have been a really violent take and it's just come off. But look at that, nice common, probably 5 or 6 pound, well, not far off. We'll have to put another feeder on, won't we? That's annoying because it's about £3 a feeder. Right, the packet, £3 worth, and it just slips over the line there and then pushes onto the stem. And now stems are fairly tight, you know, so it's only violent takes where these come off. Or I guess if the fish got snagged up, it'll be able to get the method feeder off as well, which is great. But there you go, so that's another stem on. That's another method feeder on, sorry, on the stem. Yeah, I literally saw a plume of bubbles coming up just out there. It's actually still, there's still bubbles coming up, so maybe there's another fish down there. So I'll probably go there again. Cast straight to it, and it went off within a couple of minutes, so it just shows you. Cast to the spots where the fish are feeding. Sounds obvious, but might help you get another couple of extra fish. Another little bream on the chocolate orange wafter. Let's see if I can unhook it down here. Bream. Another skimmer dead. No wafter. Well, a little skimmer. I don't think this is a bream, Dad. Yeah, decent one. Oh wow. Oh, look at this thing, Dad. Yeah. Yeah, it is, and I'm running out of memory on the camera. Look at this. Oh. No, it's not, but it's still a nice fish. They're not fighting here like they used to. I definitely think that they've taken a lot of the carp out and put them in that specimen lake. They must have, because it was a carp chuck last time we came. Look at that. It's a nice carp. Probably about £7. Let's have a look at it. Is it still there? Okay guys, so I'm going to call it a day there and get packed up. For the fishery reviews, I'll probably give Stoat Hall a 6.5 out of 10. It's got some really good facilities, a little bit on the expensive side for the fishing that you get here. I'd love to come back and fish this specimen lake, and I might adjust the ratings somewhat, but if we're being really strict on the ratings, I'm going to say 6.5. It's got really good disabled access. so you know you can drive right to your peg, which is very good, but not the most productive days fishing. I don't know if things have changed here fishing wise in the last couple of years, but the last time I came, or the last couple of times I've come, you know, I've had really good days out of it, and I was getting carp after carp after carp. The place is fairly well kept. There are toilet facilities, so it's not basic. There are a little bit of building works going on, and things that could do with neatening up a little bit, but you know, it's a fishery at the end of the day. We can't be too fussy. It's fairly expensive to fish here for the amount of facilities and the lake and things like that, you know. £10 for 2 rods. It's fairly steep compared to some of the other places. Usually it's about £7 for 2 rods, unless you go into like Partridge Lakes or somewhere like that are big complexes, then you'd expect to pay a tenner. But I suppose everything's going up, and he's just dug this specimen lake. So if you do like these fishery review videos, I will do more of them. If anybody's got any suggestions where they would like me to do, there's loads of fisheries around the Wigan, Chorley area that I'd like to review. Some I know well, some I don't fish that often, so we'll just do a new fishery every week, and I'll give you an idea of what the fishing's like, what the kind of fish species are that are in the lakes. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next Westies Angling. So I've just been talking to my dad, and he gives it a very critical 4 out of 10. He's never seemed to do quite well here.